Hey guys, welcome to Level 4, the SAE Autodrive Challenge podcast. I am Mike Sorg, podcast and video producer with the SAE CDS series, and today we have several alumni from the Autodrive Challenge with us here today. We got a whole crew with us. First of all, we have, I'll just go down the list here. Alexander Rath is with us. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Excellent. And also Alexander Green. We're going to have to keep our Alexes separate here today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And of course, Zachary Cruz is with us as well. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great. Yeah, thanks for having us today.
So again, we're leading up here to the Autodrive Challenge here in a few weeks. But these guys, everybody with us has, of course, been involved with the first year of Autodrive Challenge. We want to find out, what's going on with them, what they're doing, with General Motors and everything, and how it's helped them along the way. For a lot of you guys, they're, into this as well. So let's go ahead and start with Alex Rath. What is your education history and your current job title over there?
Yeah, so I went to Kettering University for my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and then I continued on at Kettering University and got a master's of science in engineering with an automotive concentration. So currently I'm a control system engineer in the active safety group at General Motors, working at the Milford Proving Grounds.
Hi, I'm Alex G. I got my bachelor's of science in electrical engineering from Texas A&M University, and so right now I work as a systems integration engineer at the Warren Tech Center.
Zach, how about you? What's your background?
Yeah, so I did my bachelor's at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario in Canada, and then I went to the University of Toronto for grad school where I did my doctorate in control systems engineering, focusing on motion planning and control of robotic agents. So applied that to robotic manipulators as well as quadcopters or drones. I did a postdoc, and that's at the University of Toronto as well, and that's how I got involved with the Autodrive Challenge. And now I'm working at General Motors in Canada at the Markham Technical Center, and I'm a software developer for computer vision applications.
You had a lot of background going into your current positions here. What were your experiences with student competitions, just all through school from like kindergarten up to, where you are now?
Yeah, so in high school I was involved in one of my local first robotics teams. So I did that my junior and senior year in high school. Then sort of my freshman year at Kettering University, I started out on the Formula SAE team, working in the business group. I did that for my first 2 years at Kettering, and then my junior year, I started working on the SAE Clean Snowmobile Challenge team and was on there my last 2 years at Kettering. Then, when I started grad school, I was told about the Autodrive Challenge, and it sounded like a really neat opportunity, so I did that my last year at Kettering.
Hi, so I also participated in the first robotics challenge. So I did that my freshman through junior year. I think that inspired me to go more along the path of innovating new ways to solve challenging problems. Throughout college, I did a few internships in radar signal processing and dealing with just more like wireless communications. But I'd say Autodrive was like the next big challenge that kind of brought me back to like my roots in first, but I think in a more like profound way that like has like a real impact on just how we live everyday lives. So
Excellent. What about you, Zach?
I actually had no previous experience with university or student challenges, so this is my first time. I started I started the Autodrive Challenge as part of my postdoc, so I was actually on the management side of the team, me alongside the other team lead, Keenan Burnett. So my primary goal was just managing the 50 students that we had, as well as some other projects that we had at the university. But for me, it was a great experience. I have a very theoretical background, and a lot of my schooling had to do with technical proofs and not a lot of hands-on applications. And so it was great to be able to work with others in a nice student environment, but also get my hands a little dirty and work on a real vehicle.
How has the Autodrive Challenge prepared you guys for the industry in your experience?
Yeah, so I think there are many ways that Autodrive helped prepare me for industry. So, on the team and I guess in industry in general, you have like a limited amount of time to get everything done, limited people, limited resources, limited money. But at the end of the day, we have a competition deadline that we need to have the vehicle ready by. So I think I learned a lot about how to do sort of the time management and the project management, both with the team as a whole and with my own individual parts that I was working on. The other thing that I think it helped me a lot with is getting a better understanding of how autonomous vehicles and I guess software in general works. Because before doing Autodrive, I had focused mostly on the mechanical development of things with my other experience in other SAE competitions. So this was sort of a way for me to, I guess, get a different set of experience working on a different project.
I'd say I think the biggest benefit for me was just the overall experience of taking in uh, a wide array of resources and knowledge, and just being able to basically figuring out how to navigate through all that information in order to accomplish a goal. Because I find that a lot of times, with any group I've been with, it's really it takes a lot of time to figure out who the right people are to ask certain questions, where to find everything you need in order to do your job. And I see a lot of parallels to the way Autodrive works, where you have a lot of specifications and software packages, hardware, and like just a lot of instructions and just general knowledge that's scattered all over the place. And part of your job is being able to understand how all of them work together and piece it as a team. So, which leads to my next point of just having the competency to work with others in an effective way. I think it's something that it wasn't really. It's something, at least from my experience, wasn't like a big emphasis like in my education. I mean, it was it's something that you don't really have a lot of exposure to towards and until like maybe your junior or senior year. With this, I mean, you had no choice but to work with others who had different backgrounds than you, and being able to understand and appreciate what they're doing and how it relates to completing your job. So, because at the end of the day, it's a people business, and just having the confidence that you can work on something as complicated as an autonomous car that has a lot of safety and design considerations, and just being able to find your way within that, and yeah, just being able to do your job as best you can.
The Autodrive Challenge helped prepare me for work life at General Motors in, I guess, two major ways. The first is since I was primarily doing management, it was my first real management experience. I'd been used to working independently in my academic career, but being able to motivate a group of people towards a common goal is something that I'd never done before. When you're working on limited budget and timelines, it's definitely pressure getting people to adhere to different timelines and setting up the timelines myself. That was all very interesting for me. The other thing that really prepared me for work at General Motors has been working outside of this theoretical realm. So in the end, everything that we did for the Autodrive Challenge was on a real car, on a real track, under realistic situations. And in my academic career, I was more in the realm of simulations. And this is when you have an algorithm that you're testing on the vehicle, and you realize that when the sun goes down or when you're experiencing unexpected behavior on the car, that these are all the corner cases that you need to address. And this is exactly how things are at General Motors, where we're working towards production vehicles, and so you need to handle all of those situations.
Excellent. So I think some of you may have touched on a little bit here in your previous answers, but what was your focus or your role on the team project for Autodrive Challenge?
Yeah, so I had a couple of different roles on the team. So I guess my primary role was I was one of the team leaders. So I guess that sort of involved making sure that we were uh, able to meet all of our competition deadlines, helping get other people started on projects for the team, and then writing some of the technical documentation that we needed to turn in for the competition, and ultimately making sure that the car got to the competition in the end. I also was involved on the controls side of the vehicle. So I did a lot of the software for the longitudinal controls portion. So that was like stopping at stop signs, accelerating and decelerating within the competition limits, and things like that.
My main role was team captain. So I worked with, I believe, like 10 to 12 sub teams, as some emerged and some had to be created depending on like what needs and stages we were in. But I I mainly like oversaw like issues that came up and worked as like an interface between the individual team members and the faculty and staff who could actually get them the resources that they needed. So so I was basically like the middleman in that effort, and also if there were better ways in which we could communicate as a team and and actually move like faster and more effective through our processes, I was also there to to lead that effort. So so definitely more of like a management role, but at the same time, I still had a number of technical responsibilities. One of my main ones was the development of like an interface between all of the longitudinal and latitudinal controls. So how much torque we want to press on the throttle, the brake, and like the steering angle, and having a software solution to convert those into CAN frames that can be used to drive all the actuators like on the bus. So so there's that part, and then also I worked a little bit on the perception hardware, so just making sure that cameras and radars, cameras and lidars were synchronized, and also working on a few like proof of concepts with outcome acceleration. So it was definitely like a good mix of like technical and management experience. Learned a lot, and I felt confident that we set ourselves up for success for year two and beyond.
Yeah, so on the management side, I was team lead alongside Keenan Burnett for the University of Toronto team. So responsibilities included hiring, creating timelines for the towards the competition. I also managed the budget. So we were lucky at the University of Toronto to have a very generous fund of money from the Dean of Engineering. So I helped manage that, as well as reach out for local sponsors to get additional funding. This would involve bringing the vehicle around to do different showcases or any public facing gatherings that we had. On the technical side, more overview all of the individual teams to ensure that their targets were in line with our timelines, and that if things were getting too complicated, that I would encourage them to scale back their design in order to make sure that we had functioning components for the competition.
So how were you guys hired for your current roles?
So I guess I got to know Bill Materna and the other people at GM through the competition. And towards the end of the year, I started talking to them about being interested at working at General Motors and autonomous vehicle or related, I guess, job field. And then I ended up where I am now.
I had a bit of a similar story. That towards the beginning of like the first year, my faculty advisor sent us all invitations for a networking dinner for not just us but all the other SAE sponsored groups at our school. So I went there and met a lot of other alumni from GM, and from there, things branched onwards. I saw the same people at the career fair and already had those connections set up from the networking dinner. So, one thing led to another, and I was, lucky enough to get an offer here, which I, eventually accepted. So, it was just a, chain of just knowing the right people and, showing the interest and just, following up on my end.
Yeah, very similar to the two Alexes. I had met Amanda Calhoun, my current manager or engineering general manager, at the first year competition in Yuma, Arizona. That led to multiple conversations over the summer, encouraging me to apply to General Motors. At the time, I thought I was going to stay as a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Toronto, kind of seeing through the second year of the competition. When I realized that, working for an engineering company that's putting out actual production vehicles, working in autonomous driving, it was a no-brainer for me to to start working at General Motors. So I went through the application and was fortunate enough to be hired, and I've been happy ever since.
What does a day look like at your job?
Yeah, so I guess for me, they're pretty much every day is different, but most days I'll spend a decent amount of my time working on developing new software features or improving software features that we already have on vehicles. So I've worked on things like forward collision alert, some of the software for Super Cruise, and so then outside of that, I also get to do some of the testing and validation of my software. So we have simulation environments that we can test all of our programs in. And then sometimes we'll get to go out and put the software on an actual vehicle and drive it around in the real world to make sure that it all functions properly and to get test data that we can use to further improve our software.
My scope is a little bit different, but my daily routine tends to fluctuate a lot. Really, my main responsibilities are to dive deep into issues that that other people may or may not understand. So, which includes myself as well. So, it's so most relates to to CAN and LIN and Ethernet logs, and being able to root cause different issues that affect like features for our fleet lineup. So actually, I've some of my more recent assignments have been more related to active safety. Like I have worked with forward collision alert, lane keep assist, and and other like general functionalities that keep the passenger safe. So we're there to clear all the roadblocks so that when we want to end up testing more of the corner cases, we have confidence that we can at least get the basics right, and then from there we can put in more advanced situations so that we ensure that quality is is well kept throughout the design process.
Yeah, so just as a quick reminder, my role is a computer vision software developer. So I'm supporting ATW projects. So ATW is advanced technology work. This is pre-production work that happens at General Motors, kind of seeing if certain features that we may potentially end up putting on a vehicle are either feasible or cost effective. So a typical day might be spending the morning taking a vehicle and collecting video data, and then processing that video data using any custom algorithms I developed to support a feature. And then when I have any kind of results from my individual development, it would be talking with the different feature owners within General Motors, making sure that my solution is in line with their vision, and making any needed changes as we go through.
Excellent. And I guess finally, leading into the competition here, do you have any last minute tips or words of encouragement for those that are going into this year's?
So probably my biggest suggestion is get out there and test. I think there's nothing more important than like getting the vehicle out there, getting it on the road, and then figuring out what fails and then fixing it. And I think that's some of the more fun work to do at the competition. And I guess the other thing that I'd say is with that, have fun doing it. Enjoy your time, and good luck to all the teams.
I'd say likewise, have fun in the process. It's it's a journey, so take things as they are, and don't take everything too seriously. And also, I think just regardless of like where you go, whether it's with automotive or not, don't overlook the details. There's definitely like a tendency to jump to things that really excite you, or just to the more glamorous like aspects of the job. I mean, seeing a car drive itself is pretty awesome. But I think, as it takes a lot of preliminary steps that may be monotonous for a long time. Just remember that it's worth it at the end of the day, and just keep that in mind as you're working through those details.
Yeah, my suggestion is to continue making as many connections as possible. Autodrive Challenge is a great opportunity to talk with General Motors, other component suppliers, and as well as just create very strong friendships within your team. All of the people on your team are likely going to move on to very promising careers. Stay in touch with them. You don't know when you're going to be looking for a job 5 or 10 years down the line.
Well, I want to thank all of you guys for taking the time to speak with us today and share your experiences with the competition and kind of where you've gone since. Thanks again, Alexander Rath, Alexander Green, and Zachary Cruz with us today. And of course, please, everybody, please stay tuned to the Level 4 podcast and stay tuned. Download the app if you have not yet for Autodrive competition, Autodrive Challenge. And we'll see you guys out there and be safe. Thank you for listening to Level 4, the SAE Autodrive Challenge podcast. Make sure you download our app on your smartphone for updates and contact information. The show notes for this episode and all others can be found at autodrive.fireside.fm.